Alright guys, I am back with another classic review of an old WCW pay-per-view, and this is Greed 2001, the last ever WCW pay-per-view. And I didn't think the show was that bad. It had a good undercard, and it had a lot of good matches, and they were trying to, push the new guys, the younger guys, but it was just, by this point, it was too little too late. I mean, they should have been doing this a long time ago when they were actually hot, and they were beating WWF in the ratings. They should have started to build up these guys back then when they had like Eddie, Dean Malenko and Benoit. Before all those guys jumped ship, they had a lot of guys they could build up, and they just dropped the ball with them all. And now they're trying to do it, but there's nothing left to save. It's just over. And so it was kind of a depressing show because of that. I mean, instead of bringing in guys like Warrior and crap like that, they could have really helped build WCW up into something. Like, they had Bret Hart and didn't even use him. So, I don't know. I thought the matches were good, and it was a decent show, last ever WCW pay-per-view, but yeah, you could just tell it was just definitely in its final stages, on its last legs. But I did enjoy a lot of the matches. I don't really have a lot to complain about here. And I didn't expect a lot, and I'm glad I watched it. I mean, I should have watched it anyway because it is the last WCW pay-per-view ever, but I am glad I watched it because it did have some good stuff on here. The next show I will be doing is probably going to be the ECW Anarchy Rules from 1999. So if you do want to watch the shows before I review them, that will be the next one. So on to Greed 2001. From Jacksonville, Florida. The first match is Cuiwe versus Jett. This guy Cuiwe, he wears like pink pants, and his hair is just spiked straight up. He looks like a troll doll. I don't know if that was the gimmick, but that's what I got from it. Like, the impression was he's supposed to be a human troll doll. And I am amazed that this guy's hair stood up this entire match. It was about 15 minutes long, and his hair never went down. I didn't even know that was possible because he's obviously out there sweating and stuff, and that hair is just staying straight up. So Jett goes for a powerbomb off the top rope. Cuiwe turns it into a Hurricane Rana in midair. That was awesome. They collide in the turnbuckle, and Cuiwe falls out of the ring. Jett asks the fans to be quiet. Tony Schiavone says, "Wrong crowd to ask for quiet." Well, not really, unless he thought they were doing a good enough job on their own and didn't need to be encouraged to be quiet, because they weren't really into this match at all. Jett then plays dead in the ring, and Cuiwe sees Jett down. He goes up to the top rope. Of course he misses. Jett hits a release suplex for the win, but it was a good match. I like this, and my first impression when I turned this show on, I was thinking, just looking at Cuiwe, I was like, holy crap, what is this? And it surprised me. It was good. Then we get the Cruiserweight Tag Team Championship Tournament. Apparently on Nitro and Thunder. I don't know how. I can't even imagine how bad these last few episodes of WCW Thunder, how bad they were. Because, I mean, can you even imagine that? Because Thunder was never really that good of a show. But towards the end of WCW, I couldn't fathom sitting through that crap. So, there was some type of cruiserweight. They want to bring in, it's so sad, they want to bring in new belts. Not the tag team titles, but they want to bring in cruiserweight tag team titles. So they had all these different guys wrestling on Nitro and Thunder for these new tag team belts, and the winners would be decided at Greed. So we get Primetime Elix Skipper and Kid Romeo versus the Filthy Animals Rey Mysterio and Billy Kidman. Great match. They fight up the ramp. Mysterio and Kidman hit dives off the stage. Rey goes for a springboard moonsault, gets caught by Romeo, who hits a snowplow for the win. I do have to say that this match, and a lot of the matches, for obvious reasons, felt a lot like early TNA. I mean, that's what you're going to get. I'm not saying that's bad or anything. I'm just saying it did feel like early TNA. You can kind of see how it went from the end of WCW directly into TNA. And it did have that feel. But the Animals lose the match. So we get new Cruiserweight Tag Team Champions. Now, this is the last WCW pay-per-view ever. And I looked this up on Wikipedia, because I was trying to figure out, did they seriously, this close to folding, bring in new belts? Yes they did. A week later on Nitro, the Filthy Animals would win the belts from Kid Romeo in prime time, and then WCW would go out of business like a day later or something. I mean, it's just so crazy. I mean, the company was going out of business, and here they are bringing in new belts. You can tell there was just so many people not on the same page at this time. And when you hear all these shoot interviews and people saying, we had no idea WCW was sold until we saw Shane McMahon out there, I honestly believe that. I mean, these guys had no idea the company was folding. So it's just a shame. And then backstage, oh my god, the obnoxious Buff Bagwell has a camera following him around. He goes to see CEO Ric Flair, who is in his office with Jeff Jarrett and Road Warrior Animal. They started rambling about something I couldn't understand. I have no idea what these guys were talking about or what they were saying. Flair was yelling, Jeff Jarrett was yelling, Animal was saying something. I have no idea what they were trying to get across in this backstage segment. The only thing I know for sure is that Buff is annoying. So it was ridiculous. Then we get Shawn Stasiak with Stacy Keibler versus Bam Bam Bigelow. So Stacy comes out first. She introduces Stasiak as the Mecca of Manhood. Stasiak comes out to the ring. He tells him to cut his music off. After they cut his music off, Ric Flair would do the same thing later. They start handing out photos of Stasiak. Bam Bam comes down. They start wrestling. A lot of cat and mouse in this match. Bam Bam's trying to fight him. He keeps leaving the ring. It wasn't very good. Bam Bam hits a headbutt off the top. Stacy gets on the apron. The ref is talking to Bam Bam. Stacy throws in some hairspray. Stasiak sprays it in Bam Bam's eyes. Hits a neck breaker. Gets the win. That was it. Not much to this one. Backstage they have this... They were doing something. I don't know if they did this on every show or Nitro or whatever, but for some reason on this show they had security camera footage. And the first time we see it is the cat Ernest Miller telling Miss Jones he's going to take care of Canyon. Then we see Primetime and Kid Romeo. They're putting their belts on each other and they're acting kind of homosexual. At the end they go to hug each other and then they're like, oh, let's shake. And I don't know what this was supposed to establish. I don't know if WCW had plans to make them a gay couple or something. I don't know. Just very bizarre backstage segment. So we get Team Canada, Lance Storm and Mike Awesome versus Hugh Morris and Conan. Storm wants them to play the Canadian anthem. Hugh Morris runs out, starts fighting him. Then Conan runs out. It was an okay match. They work over Conan damn near the entire time. Hugh Morris eventually gets a hot tag. He did the whole thing. He kept getting held back and they kept taunting him and he kept falling for it a lot of times. But finally he gets the hot tag. Awesome hits a running Awesome Bomb on Morris while Storm is holding Conan back. So Team Canada gets the win here. But it was okay. And then we get more security camera footage. This time it's Dustin Rhodes, Goldust, and Dusty Rhodes. And Dusty Rhodes has ordered 200 burritos to get ready for his match against Ric Flair and Jeff Jarrett later. I had no idea what the hell this was supposed to be, but apparently Dusty and Dustin had a match against Jeff Jarrett and Ric Flair where the losers had to kiss the winner's ass. So Dusty is backstage eating like 200 burritos to prepare for this match. I'm not making this up. We get more Buff Bagwell with his cameraman. He's talking to Rick Steiner, talk about Booker T and Scott Steiner. Sean O'Haire and Chuck Palumbo say that Lex Luger and Buff Bagwell will have to kill them if they want to get the tag belts from him. And you can actually hear the cameraman say clear after this promo. And it's just, you know, that's just bad. It's just a bad sign when you can't even get on the same page for that. Like, the promo is on the screen, everybody's watching, and you just hear clear, and then it cuts back. And then there's another botch. The Cruiserweight Tag Team Championship banner appears on the screen again, even though it's just a Cruiserweight singles match, but they put up the Tag Team Championship thing again, even though that's completely over now. And then we get Shane Helms versus Chavo Guerrero for the Cruiserweight title. This was awesome. Helms hits an awesome frog splash, or not a frog splash, a frog crossbody off the top to the outside onto Chavo. Shane goes up top. Chavo hits the ropes, knocking Shane Helms down, and he covers him and puts his foot on the ropes right in front of the ref. Like, Shane Helms is laid down in front of the turnbuckle. Chavo goes to cover him. The ref is right here, and he puts his legs on the ropes directly over the referee. It looked ridiculous, but it was still a great match. The best match on the show up to this point, and from everything else I saw, there were some more good matches. This was still the best. Chavo goes for the vertebreaker. Helms reverses it, hits the vertebreaker for the win. We get a new Cruiserweight champion. So yeah, I have to say that everything I saw on the show, this was the best. Both guys looked amazing. Chavo Guerrero was definitely the best worker on this show. Shane Helms was great too, but you could just tell that Chavo just had the experience in this match. I mean, he was nailing everything. There was one moment where Chavo, they did this spot where he's laying on the guy and Shane Helms is supposed to bridge up, and he just couldn't quite get it. However, Chavo, even being, you know, a little bit older, was still able to get everything down. Except that one time he got the foot on the ropes. It was unnecessary. Jarrett and Flair are talking backstage about how they won't kiss anyone's ass. Booker T says all the talking is over. Rick Steiner can save the drama for his mama. And don't hate the player, hate the game. Oh god. Then we get Lex Luger and Buff Bagwell versus Sean O'Haire and Chuck Palumbo for the tag titles. Of course, Lex Luger and Buff Bagwell have to get separate entrances. Even Buff Bagwell's ring music is annoying as crap. So they get separate entrances, they come down. Luger cuts a promo about how good they look, how they ended the career of Goldberg. He calls O'Haire and Palumbo rookies. So O'Haire and Palumbo come down to the ring. Palumbo immediately hits super kicks on both Luger and Bagwell. Sean O'Haire goes to the top, hits swantons on both men. Palumbo covers one, O'Haire covers the other. 1, 2, 3. Match lasted 54 seconds. That was it. That lame-ass promo Lex Luger cut took longer than the match. And I don't know what, I guess they just thought this was a good idea to make the young guys look strong. But, I mean, it would have made them look better, in my opinion, if they had a hard-fought match against two guys like Buff and Luger. I mean, Buff and Luger were clearly, you know, the bigger stars on the show. They were getting the backstage segments and all this stuff. Everybody knows who they are. And it just, I don't know. I didn't care much for this at all. There wasn't anything to care about. It was 54 seconds. So backstage, Scott Steiner is ranting about beating DDP. And then we get Kanyon versus the Cat with Miss Jones. Apparently, Kanyon has turned into a psychopath. He's been stalking Miss Jones, following her around, trying to attack her or something. I don't know. I didn't see like all the nitros leading up to it, obviously. So I'm trying to piece it together. The Cat says he's going to come to the ring and rip that mask off yo ugly ass face. I'm sorry, that that is your ugly ass face. Kanyon pins him for 3, but the ref saw that he used the ropes, so the bell is never rung. Kanyon hits the Cat with a foreign object, and Miss Jones gets on the apron. She's talking to the ref when he hit him with the foreign object, and because of the angle, this made no sense to me, because Miss Jones just gets in the ring with a guy who is supposed to be a psycho. So Kanyon just hits the referee from behind, completely knocks him out. And then the cat's back up. He holds Kanyon. Miss Jones goes to kick him. He ducks. She hits the cat. Then they act like they're going to fight. She kicks Kanyon. And then the cat kicks him back and pins him. The referee is up. Counts 3 for the win. I have to admit, the crowd was into this. For whatever reason, they popped when the cat won. Kanyon attacks him after the match, hits the flatliner. And he goes to attack Miss Jones, and then Smooth comes out with a chair and scares Kanyon away. Apparently Smooth is supposed to be the cat's limo driver. I don't know. Lex Luger and Buff Bagwell are arguing backstage. Dusty is still eating burritos. Booker T versus Rick Steiner for the US title. Another match with a ref bump. The ref takes a bump from a kick by Booker. So Steiner has him pinned, but the ref is out. Shane Douglas runs in, hits Steiner from behind with a cast. Booker hits the bookend for the win. New U.S. champion. This was actually a pretty good match. I didn't mind this at all. Wikipedia said it was about 8 minutes. I thought that was perfect for this match. And both guys did a good job. Another crazy, wacky finish and a ref bump, but, you know, whatever. So backstage, Buff is laid out. Someone's attacked him. Road Warrior Animal standing over him yelling. Lex Luger accuses Animal of doing it. Animal says, "What are you talking about? I found him here." And Luger says, "Isn't that convenient?" And I'm thinking, that's your face? That's your accusing face? You think he just laid out your tag team partner and that's how you react? Isn't that convenient? I just thought that was absurd. Alright, so where am I here? Ric Flair and Jeff Jarrett with Road Warrior Animal versus Dusty and Dustin Rhodes. Loser has to kiss the winner's ass. Flair comes out, says he isn't dressed to wrestle. He's wearing like a Hawaiian shirt, some sandals or something. Of course, Flair wrestles. But he says he's not dressed to wrestle. The referee sends Road Warrior Animal to the back. Flair acts like Jarrett's going to do everything. Nothing comes of this. Flair jumps on the apron and works the match. So Dustin gets a small package on Flair, kind of, for the win. They go for the small package, but then they kind of just fall on each other. But the ref counts 1, 2, 3. The Rhodes win the match. Flair leaves the ring. He's freaking out. Dusty puts his ass in Jeff Jarrett's face. That was it. I mean, fans seem to be into it, kind of. I mean, seeing Dusty Rhodes again, I mean, it's Dusty Rhodes. I like Dusty Rhodes, and I thought he did his thing out here, but last WCW pay-per-view ever. I mean, Scott Steiner with Madeja versus DDP for the world title in a last man standing match. This was actually pretty good. I wanted to like this. It was doing everything right up until the finish. Another just absolutely batshit crazy finish. So the match starts and they're brawling around because it's last man standing, which they didn't even really use except for maybe the first 5 minutes, if that. So they're brawling around. Steiner uses a trash can and he takes a crutch from an obvious plant. There's this kid wearing a DDP shirt with crutches, completely alone. Like, no one is around this guy. Steiner goes, he grabs the crutch, hits DDP with it. Then the fan tosses DDP the other crutch. He hits Steiner with it. DDP hits an elbow drop onto Steiner through a table. And then Steiner walks back towards the ring, and he grabs this plastic thing from a fan in the audience. The fan happens to be Paul London. So another plant, he grabs this plastic thing, hits DDP, and then he turns to shove Paul London, and Page hits him with, I guess, a piece of the plastic. I don't know what this thing was or what it was supposed to be. It looked like a record. But Scott Steiner starts to kind of bleed a little bit on his face after getting hit with this thing. So he's busted open a little. Page hits the diamond cutter, but Rick Steiner shows up and pulls the referee out of the ring and tosses him into the guardrail. That's not it. Scott Steiner hits Page with the belt while the ref is down. He gets a belt from Medeja, hits Page with it, busting him open. But he kicks out. So Steiner gets him in the Steiner recliner, but Page gets the ropes. So Steiner and Medeja distract the ref. Meanwhile, Rick Steiner is still beating the crap out of DDP. Medeja continues to distract the ref while Steiner goes and grabs a metal pipe. He beats DDP in the back with it. Then he puts him back in the recliner. And Page is out, so the ref rings the bell. Scott Steiner wins the match. And that was it. I mean, they needed Rick Steiner out there, a belt shot, and a metal pipe to beat DDP. They should have just really kept this simple. I thought it was an okay match. They didn't really use the falls count anywhere stip at all. It just another cluster. I mean, what can you say about it? I mean, a lot of overbooked stuff, and that was it. It's kind of bittersweet because I do consider myself a fan of WCW. I like the company. The company did some great stuff and had a lot of good stuff, but around 2001, it just too little. They were trying to do the right thing by pushing the younger guys. Too late though. You couldn't save this company no matter what you did, because the damage had been done. No one cared anymore. They had already been betrayed so many times by WCW, and even on this show, like the 54-second tag match. Just crap like that. So, I guess I thought it was an average pay-per-view. I mean, especially if you like Dusty Rhodes eating burritos, but I mean, it did have some good matches. So I have to say this was kind of average. I didn't think it was a complete pile of crap. If I watched it back then live, I probably wouldn't care at all. But, you know, watching it now for the nostalgia of it, I thought it was okay. So yeah, that's my thoughts on WCW Greed 2001. I hope you guys like this review. Leave your thoughts on this pay-per-view in the comments below, and I will be back soon with ECW Anarchy Rules 1999. So that's it, guys. Thanks for watching.